Takes me a few minutes just to get things rolling. It's because it's a bit bloody high, is why. Hang on, let me just drop the iPad down a sec. Okay. Why is that doing that? Oh, I think it's because I've got the charger in, maybe. Okay, let's do this.
It is now into the 16th day since 19-year-old Jay Slater vanished in Tenerife. In that time, his disappearance has attracted worldwide media attention and as such, extensive coverage on social media. This has led to massive speculation with theories at times very misleading and with inaccurate information. Overwhelmingly, people are fascinated and as such want to do their bit to help, whether that be doing their own detective work or just providing comment. What people often lose sight of or don't consider, and I'm sure a number don't even care, is that Jay's family and close friends read a lot of what's posted online and in the media. And some of it has been very unfair and unkind to a family who right now are in total shock and despair. So please just think before you post, and if you would not say it to your loved one who's missing, then don't say it or post it now. As is a way with this high-profile missing persons investigations, the public and the media want official information.
Thanks, guys.
And when this is void, they fill it themselves. I flew out to Tenerife on Monday the 24th, directly to help the family, using my team to help Jay's family get some clarity and answers. My trip and investigation has been fully funded by myself. And many of you will have seen my statement I made on Wednesday afternoon, setting out the parameters and the focus of my investigation. I'm now back in the UK and have been in contact with Jay's family throughout and kept them updated constantly with the results of my ongoing investigation, making inquiries both in the UK and back in Tenerife. Jay's family were provided with my preliminary findings on Friday, the 28th of June. I've spoken to lots of witnesses and have a clear picture now of what happened overnight of Sunday the 16th of June through to the morning of Monday the 17th of June. I'm now in a position to release some of that detail. I'm doing so given the massive interest in this case, mainly to provide some clarity and to clear up the total inaccuracies and misreporting of information which is neither helpful to the police, my investigation, nor, crucially, to the family. We know that shortly before 6 a.m. on Monday the 17th of June, Jay left the area of Veronica Strip, Las Americas, in a Seat Leon hire car with two males casually known to him. Jay and a number of his friends had spent time with them both over the previous 2 days. All three males, including Jay, then travelled north via the main motorway, the TF1, to go to the two males' holiday rental Casa Abu Latina in Masca, which was about an hour's drive away. En route, Jay posted a Snapchat saying that he'd taken a £12,000 Rolex from a person. We've been unable to validate this in terms of a reported theft. However, friends of Jay said he would not make this up, and the watch was subject of later conversation between the friends. Not long after arriving at the rental, Jay around 7 a.m. had contact with various friends via social media, both inside and outside the rental. And during these calls, various videos, chats were had and pictures sent, including the one he took on the doorstep that many of you will have seen. I am confident that that photograph on the doorstep is him, wearing a throw, a blanket from the apartment, and his black and green Air Max trainers, which he had on the night that he went out. We know at around 8 a.m. there was a level of communication with the host of the rental property in which he communicated by hand digits to him that the bus was leaving at 10 a.m. from the bus stop right by the apartment. With this, Jay walked off, turning left and up the hill. We know that Jay used an Apple iPhone, and the Apple Maps takes you that route up the hill, walking back to Los Cristianos, where he was staying. Whilst on the walk, he talked to and messaged his friends. Whilst walking, Jay spoke to at least 3 people, telling them that he was lost, with little phone battery and without water. He was told to go back by 2 people to the rental. He said he could not do that and that he'd already been walking 30 minutes and that he was now off-road and was walking on a track where there were loose stones. We know that at 8:49 and at 8:50, Jay sent his location by both Snapchat and WhatsApp to 2 friends. We can confirm that it was Jay using his phone at that stage, and there was no indication that he was with anyone. The location is fixed by GPS, and we've done tests in the area, and it's accurate to 5 to 10 meters. The fixed point is the Barranco Joan Lopez hiking path, which fits the description given by the witnesses that spoke to him, stating that he was on a stony path and having walked 30 minutes from the rental apartment. From this point, no further contact is had with Jay because his phone battery dies. We've received information that would suggest that Jay left the rental property feeling scared and he would not return to the rental, even though that would have been the most sensible course of action and also where he could have charged his phone, got some water and made contact with friends. We continue to investigate this aspect. We have, however, ruled out hostage kidnapping situation because no credible ransom demand has been made. And we have no evidence at this stage to say there was a third-party criminal involvement in Jay's disappearance. However, there are still a number of outstanding actions and therefore we still remain open-minded to the possibility of this changing. The evidence is that Jay walked off from the rental, walked for about 30 minutes and then sent his location at 08:49 and 08:50, and we know that he was at that stage off the road on a track with loose stones, and we have that fixed as a location on GPS. I now want to make an appeal for landowners in the area of Tino Rural Park to check any outbuildings and land that they have in the hope that further searches will continue by volunteers in the area not yet searched. I've largely remained silent to date with our investigation, not giving any interviews, but have felt the need to make a statement now to clear up facts, which I've advised the family I would be doing. This has been done as I hope it will enable people to accept the evidential facts and thus reduce the number of mis- and inaccurate reports and information that are being publicised and circulated. You will appreciate that as part of our investigation, we have spoken to a significant number of witnesses, both here in the UK and in Tenerife, including Jay's friends who are fully engaged with us. And as such, we've received a significant amount of both personal and sensitive information. We've even spoken to significant individuals in the drugs fraternity in Tenerife. Much of that information is highly sensitive, and so therefore we will not be releasing it. We continue our investigation to try and find out what happened to Jay. And if you have any information, please either contact the police in Tenerife or you can contact us anonymously through the many forms of social media or through our hotline. Thank you.
Oh, hang on, have I paused it now? So, woo! Was not expecting that bombshell today. So, what do you know? What do we know? I have questions. We all have questions. Because a lot of what he says is making sense. Those two guys could have been just nice and give him a lift and sofa for night. Yeah, so thank you, babe. So, Sir, did someone put Sir? I thought someone put Sir. So Mark Williams Thomas, he is an ex-detective police officer, and he went out to Tenerife on the 20. Let me just double check. I want to say it was the 24th. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff down. Yes, so he went out on the 24th of June. So from his original interview, he wanted to go out to give an in-depth sight into the investigation. He wanted to speak to a large number of witnesses. These are his words, they're not mine. And that is those that were with Jay and those that came across Jay or possibly saw him. So not just the two friends. And then in that, he said that they had all been helpful. Now, I did see someone clip a video, and this is why I don't watch videos, because they just, you have to take a lot of what is said in them with a pinch of salt. So in that video, this guy says he's the investigators found that the friends aren't being honest. And what he's talking about is, when you listen to the original interview again, because I went back to find it, and in that original interview, he says he's spoken to a large number of people. Now, he's spoken to like his friends and family and a large number of people. And what he means is, in that large number of people, there will be those that aren't being honest with him, and he would go back to them. But in terms of his friends and his close connections, he's saying that they've been very cooperative. So if you see that video, that I think has just been used as a headline. It's been snipped to look and be how it needs, or how they want you to see it and perceive it. But actually, if you go back and watch the original all the way through, you'll see, it's about 10 minutes long, you'll see exactly what he means in the context that he means that. Oh, bloody hell, the messages are gone whoosh. There is so many people. Thank you all for the gifts. So now, he said, as I said, those have been largely truthful. Now, what he wanted to find out when he went there, which was in regards to the two men, was why they were there, why they were here in Tenerife, what they were doing, and why did they take Jay back to that B&B. So this was in the early stages of everything. Thank you, Faithless. I just want to make sure that I've covered all the previous points, because it's important, because he did that first initial instance. So initially, he also mentioned the fact that in this, he was treated as a missing person. Now, he says if it had been him and it had been in the UK, it would have been treated more as a critical incident. And I do agree, like we learned with Nicola Bulley, didn't we? That, thank you, Karen. We learned with Nicola Bulley that the one thing they didn't do, and the police did admit this in their findings in the post-investigation, was that they didn't, block it off as a crime scene. Because even though it turns out that she somehow ended up in that river and there's no crime scene there to per se, there's nothing that they can say is a crime scene. They couldn't go back to that. Prints, everything, you name it, none of that was protected. So that's what he said he would have done. And I agree, in that situation, you've got a young lad that's gone off into a rural area with men he's met for a couple of days, but doesn't know them. He only casually knows them. They're not like best friends or friends from a year or more. They're just people that he's come across while he's been away, basically. And so either in the early days, his thoughts were he's either got himself lost or he's come to harm. And the longer that he is missing, if they find him or a body, it's likely that he got lost, misadventure. But if they don't find a body, he did say that then they would have to rule in foul play. So this was before he'd gotten further on. This is one of his first interviews in the first 48 hours of him being out there in Tenerife. He said that the police have searched the area very well. Down the Rapids has said something different. The mum's kind of saying that they have searched very well, so I don't know, but Paul's been out there seeing them. So is it the mum saying to Mark, yeah, they're doing a great job, but actually the reality is by the time they're faffed around, pushing paper around and organising stuff, they're probably out there a few hours and then they're back in. Who knows? Thank you, Boop. So obviously there is that element of it in terms of how well has that been done. Now, we know that there is some rug element in Tenerife, some underground, and not like as I've said many a times, I'm not buying the mafia story. I'll say that till I come home. Probably going to end up eating my words at this rate, but at this current time, I'm sticking with my thought that mafia story is just so far-fetched, it's ridiculous. But I'm not saying that Lucy may not be dealing. And I don't know anything about Brad. I don't know if Brad's a regular out in Tenerife. I don't know anything. Because all we know from, if you believe the mule story, Lucy's the top dog, and then there's this random anonymous person, and then Jay not taking into account Brad. So, so I will sit on that fence still. Because, if you watch him in that video where he's dancing, he's clearly either very, very tipsy or he has had some sort of substance. Now, what we do know is that when he left the club with the men from the first interview, is that when he left, they said he seemed to be with it. Like, he didn't seem off his head, off his face or anything. He did seem with it. So obviously that was going to be a line of inquiry, and as you've heard, they have spoken to them, and obviously he isn't going to go and grass them up, is he? Because obviously they're giving him information that perhaps the police wouldn't give him, and perhaps they wouldn't give to the police because he's not with the police. Now, they were drinking alcohol, but what we know as well from that first interview, the men didn't have tickets into that festival, whereas Lucy, Jay and Brad were in the festival for like the weekend. Like that was their whole time there. Well, that's what they were supposed to be doing, and he was obviously there because we saw him dancing, and their drink of preference was Hennessy. Don't know what that is. So they didn't have tickets, and he was in control of himself when he left. And then we've had some things in between from other people, and then we've had this today. So lots of people said to me, what do you think about the watch? And I said, well, I'm not sure on the watch. I'm not buying the watch because there's no proof, right? There was no proof. There's no evidence about this watch and being stolen. And why would anybody, I mean, it's one thing being a criminal in the UK, isn't it? And getting through the criminal justice system as a British person in a UK court. But if you get caught stealing or doing something in a foreign country, that is really different. Thank you, Lou. You're talking a different situation with prison or a jail that's not going to be anything of the same standard of in the UK, and anyone in their right mind would be absolutely petrified to live contains some themes that some may find uncomfortable. Oh, for God's sake. It's only in Tenerife, though. It's not the Shanghai Hilton. I'm just saying that you're not going to want to go to prison, okay? I wouldn't want to go to prison in a foreign country. That's just my thought. So someone's obviously reported the live. That's my dogs. There's 4 pugs. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the live and then come back on because someone's kindly reported the live. I will be back. 2 seconds.
Yeah, I did see that, Kathy. They can have immunity from things they do within their present.
I'll tell you honestly, these peoples. Hey, Karen. Yeah, people be watching. It's fine. Thank you, Miss Boop. They do. People do. People do. Yeah, we're back. It's a good way to actually get rid of some of the trolls as well. TikTok shop is great. I've put some things in my shop, but I don't actually do anything with them. Although I really probably should promote them because they're crime stuff. They're not anything to do with me. I just saw them and put them in my shop. And I'm going to be looking to do some after dark press on nails merch soon. I've just not had the time to sort that out. Press on nails merch. A lot of people are talking nonsense. It's crazy. They should be. I agree. S&T. They should be. Agree. They should be supporting the family. But they're not. That it's like when this sort of thing happens, they kind of feel like they've got to turn on the family. They've got to turn on the friends. Yeah, we'll get to the Rolex watch. We just played the video of Mark Williams Thomas talking about the watch, and I've just gone through his previous interview, and then I had to restart the live. Guess who's back? Watch is back. Watch is back. Watch is back. Do 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 do. So thank you, Kerry. Welcome to the team. I do not know, and it's like people have to go and view their personal profiles. They have to go really, really, just too far, really, too far. To be honest, he makes sense. Now, in terms of the watch, we'll cover that in a minute, but he hasn't really said anything that's too crazy or out of the reams of, out of the reams of stuff, because there's still stuff that sticks here. Okay, there is still stuff that sticks here. So where I was before I ended the live to come back was about the watch. So I was starting to say about the watch, and that people would ask me what I thought about the incident with the watch, and I said, well, I honestly don't know, because I haven't seen any proof. Until I see proof that this is a possibility, then it's not something that I'm going to do a video on. I'm not going to go diving into it, because there is no actual evidence and proof of this. And people send in screenshots of half-assed messages and stuff. That doesn't mean anything to me, because if someone posts stuff like that as an anonymous person, you can't know who that is, right? So you don't know if they've just made that up. So unless it comes from a verified source, I'm not going to buy into anything like that. I stick with what we get told, and then I kind of look at the possibilities of what that could be with the information that we get. So at that point, there was nothing to back that statement up, so I dismissed it. And like I said, if I've dismissed something and it turns out to be, possibility or truth or whatever, then, I'll say I dismissed it, but it has now been brought up. However, with the watch, if you hear what he says that the conversation about the watch was in the car as they were going back to the place in Masca with the two men. So he was doing the Snapchat back and forth, but there is no evidence or any reporting of a stolen watch. Now, if you're the owner of a £12,000 plus watch, right, you're going to report it missing, are you not? I personally think people would report it missing unless they stole the watch. So my question there is, who did he steal the watch from? Because no one's reported the watch missing. Now, maybe because Jay is missing, they're not going to report the watch missing. There could be several different scenarios on that, but you've got to just keep that in your mind when he says the conversation about the watch being stolen happened, that Jay said he stole it. His friend said that he wouldn't lie about that. Now, maybe going back to Mum's interview, the very first one, when she said that she thought perhaps he had been kidnapped or he'd gotten himself into trouble, maybe it is because she knew what had happened regarding what was said about the watch. So we still can't prove 100% that the watch was stolen. And the things I'm seeing in titles is Jay actually stole the watch. He stole it. There is a strong possibility that he did steal it because it's come from his mouth via his friends, and they say he wouldn't lie about that. But no one has reported the watch stolen, and it's £12,000 for a £12,000 watch. So depends who he's stolen it from. Depends if they stole it or not, because obviously if they've stolen it, they're not going to report it missing, right? Because it's a stolen watch. So then I get thinking, and I'm like talking, and I've been backwards and forwards with Wicked today because we've been putting theories through. So on the 17th of June, we heard he left Veronica's strip. He was on there, and this was at 7 a.m. and the time span is really short. So he leaves there at 6 a.m. and they go in the hire car in the Seat back to Masca, which he said is it's about 50 minutes to an hour away. And he goes with these two men. He casually knows these men. They've been speaking for a couple of days. He says casually known to Jay and friends. So I don't know if Jay met him and introduced him to his friends, or whether the friends introduced him to Jay, or that's not clarified for me. So I can't say, but he says he was known to Jay and his friends. So I could interpret that, and that would be my own interpretation, not anyone else's, that he meant that Jay perhaps met him and got chatting and that with him first, and then introduced him to the friends. But you know, there's no proof in what way round that was. That would just be an interpretation just of the language used. Either way, it doesn't matter. They were casually known to each other for the previous 2 days. Now, when they left, they travelled north to go to the rental of the two males. Like I said, it's an hour drive, and there were Snapchats going on to the friends. And they talk about this £12,000 Rolex watch. And as I said, there was no recorded proof. There's no reported theft. It's just the word that come from Jay, according to his friends. Now, if you go and you consider all the conspiracy theories around, Lucy being involved in some way, or, whichever way you kind of like want to look at it, depending on how you've looked at it, you could say that they might be making that up because they're involved some way, right? I'm not even going to go there realistically. I'm just putting it out there that people are saying that there's these conspiracy theories that they are somewhat involved. And if that was the case, more specifically Lucy, I would say, I don't think Brad is, but more specifically Lucy, if she was involved, that could be what they could say. But they're all saying, well, the two friends are saying that he said that he did it. So again, you have to just sort of park that in there as bank of knowledge. He said it. They've reported that he said it, but there's no actual evidence or proof that this has happened. Just the word from Jay and his friends saying that he said it, and Jay's not here to actually defend that comment either. Oh, hang on, the messages are going wild again. Oh, hang on. So they leave there at 6. They get there at 7, and he's contacting his friends on social media from inside and outside of this property. Now, he's not there for very long, is he? Like, he's got the blanket around him, and I still agree. I believe that is the photograph, because I go back to what I said the other day when the other person was saying it couldn't be, it was staged days before. I still think that that is the photograph of him. I believe that to be correct. I've always believed that to be the situation, but the snaps and calls were going backwards and forwards while he was there. Now, at 8 a.m, this is where he has gone off to go and find the bus, and the bus stop is literally at the B&B. And that might be why the men chose to stay there. Like, but then they hired a car, so why would you want to hire a car and drive all that way out when you could just get the bus? Although, how regular is the bus? Because it's quite rural. So there's all those things kind of going around in my head, like, oh, well, you know how that works. So he communicates with the Airbnb woman, who signals 10. So we believe that to be 10 a.m. Now, it could be 10 hours, that could be 10 minutes, but they're taking that to mean 10 o'clock. So that's 2 hours away, because he might have pointed to the bus stop and she might have gone like that. If their communication, if her English isn't great, you can understand how that could get miscommunicated. But that's the point, is he didn't wait for the bus at all. So he then turns left from that Airbnb, he goes up the hill, and he's messaging his friends. Now, they say he messaged at least 3 people. This is what's been reported in that report by Mark. And he said that he was lost. Now, in Brad's interview, when Jay was talking to him and he said that he was sliding down, Isla asked him in that interview whether or not he seemed worried. And he said no, he didn't seem concerned. We were both sort of laughing, and I was just out of the festival, and I literally don't think that's what he meant. I think he just meant, like, 2 hours ago he's out of the festival and he's on the phone to Jay, or he hasn't stopped being on the phone to him, whatever. But he says he was feeling okay, and they were laughing at it. And it was only when he realised that he was lost and as far away and he didn't have water and stuff that his demeanour changed, and he was worried, because he's out in the middle of nowhere without anything, and a low battery on his phone. Now, they say to him, go back to the Airbnb, because that makes the most logical sense, right? Because there's battery, you can charge your battery up there, you can get some water near there, you can ping your location there so that they can find you easy, and it would have been the sensible thing to do. But Mark says in this piece that he is reading to the public that he said that Jay left there frightened and couldn't go back. So what does that mean exactly? What was he frightened of to go back? Now, going back to the beginning of Mark's statement, Jay was in the car having already stole the watch, right? So he hasn't stolen it from the men because he has the watch in the car and he's Snapchatting about it, apparently. And it is a topic of conversation a bit later on. So who is this watch belonging to? Because it doesn't, it seems, initially belong to the men that he travels with. Now, my next thought on that, and it is just a thought, and it's the only thing that I can possibly even kind of think in terms of looking at it in the worst case scenario, is that maybe he sold the watch to one of the men or both of the men, but then who has a certain level of money on them at that time of night in Tenerife. It's not going to be easy to access that kind of cash, especially at the price that it would be being sold. But did he sell the watch to them and then take off with whatever he sold the watch for and the money? But you've got to bear in mind, like I said, what are the chances of them having that money, knowing that he was going to steal the watch, unless it was pre-planned? I don't know. That's just the worst case scenario. He's gone off with said watch, and somehow they've perhaps gone after him in the car when they've woken up or realised he's gone with the watch. That's the most logical thing that I can think of. But then it goes back in the circle again. We go back round to the circle of, well, he saw the woman, and then he saw, or he spoke to Lucy, he spoke to Brad. He lost the battery power, so there was no one tracking him at that point, and he'd gotten away by 30 minutes. And he could have gone in. I mean, obviously, the men could have followed the direction. And that's what throws me, because you just go back into that bloody circle of, well, he was seen, then he was on the phone, and he'd been gone 30 minutes. And at this point, the reality of those men actually finding him, what are the chances? And that's probably about as far as conspiracy would go. Well, it's not a conspiracy, it's just a thought that I can come up with. Let me just pause and go back a little bit, because I can't always see the comments. Well, I'm not seeing the comments because I'm just reading off my head. Why does it do that? It's like talking to your mum in this room. You don't have to stay in this room, by the way. You're not in a cult. Oh my god, this thing every time it like scoots past. Which woman? Only they can know why they booked that Airbnb. Well, you have to think like a local, and she probably may not have had a bottle of water on her. She may not have even really thought much of it, to be honest. We can't think. I'll have a look in a minute. Oh my god. So he's got dehydrated through alcohol or whatever he's been doing, and then he's not got water. That's not a good combination. And then the sun and the heat. Okay, I'll go to the Daily News. Hang on. The guy is saying he only took him back as his friends had left him. I'm not going by captions though, Poppy. I'm going by what the man who's been doing the investigation said, right? Because he's been there, he's been interviewing, that's his report. His report says Jay said he stole the watch and he told his friends about it, but there's no reported theft of a £12,000 watch. And it was a subject of conversation a bit further on. So he doesn't say he stole it with the men. He says he talks about it in the car, but it doesn't say he stole it with the men. So I wouldn't necessarily read the Daily Mail and believe everything it says. For something like that, where there is an original source, go to the original source, because you hear it from their own mouth rather than the catchy title that they want you to read, because they want you to read. So they're going to give you a catchy title. Same as all these things where they've put Jay stole the watch, but they haven't, rather than just saying there's been an update, new information. Because the thing is, Jay said he stole the watch allegedly to the friends. The friends could be being dishonest about that bit of information. Jay could be being dishonest about that information. So, because he then says there's no recorded theft, no one's reported the watch missing or anything like that, you have to take that into consideration. And a lot of the people are not. They've just heard Jay said he stole the watch, and that's it. And they're not thinking anything further than Jay stole the watch. Welcome, Coral, to our lovely team. They could all be lying. If you're talking about Jay doesn't have his passport. The police would obviously have that. However, you also have to now bear in mind as well that the police did go back to the B&B, which I haven't forgotten. I just haven't got there yet. But the police didn't go back to... they didn't do much in the first instance, and then they go back to the scene, right? Well, that's 2 weeks later. What the fuck? Well, apparently you can't. Well, they're definitely saying a Rolex watch. Whose messenger says he was active an hour ago? Did you know that if you're talking about Facebook Messenger, right? I've picked up the phone in the middle of the night and I thought, right, I won't remember in the morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send Mrs. AD a message so she gets it in the morning, and it'll say that she's not been active for 6 hours and she's asleep. But it'll then show her as being active, and she ain't because she's asleep. My God, there's so many comments. I can't possibly get through them all. Well, yeah, who's taking a Rolex to Tenerife is another one. There's one Mrs. AD and me. I just played the video. Where have you heard that he was on the way to sell it? Because that's not what came out of Mark Williams' mouth. What's it got to do with you, Sandra? You don't have to be here. I'm only listening and taking the information from the person that's giving the update on that, and that is Mark Williams Thomas. He's been out there investigating. I don't take in information from screenshots, from messages, because you can't prove anything in those messages, because half the time they're anonymous. You never know who sent them, and they're not reliable. And I can write a message in Snapchat and put it out there and say that I got this message from somebody. It's easy done, and that's why I'll only take the information once it's been delivered from an official source. And he he says that he had the watch in the car and he told them that he stole the watch, but he doesn't mention that he was on the way to selling it, or they were selling it, or anything else about that other than that he had the watch, he was telling them that he'd stolen it, and he was going back to the Airbnb. Now, the next best thing that, I mean, I don't often, go and speculate too much, but in a worst case scenario, he has this watch. What is he doing with this watch? It doesn't belong to the men because he's with the men in the car when he's Snapchatting, so he's not stolen it from them, from the B&B. The only reason he would have stolen it from them is if he's then been paid for that watch and then takes the watch. And like I said, who's got 10 grand just where they can access out of a bank that easy in Tenerife? Who are you, random? You are random. Well, the only text messages, and this is just how I work, I will only believe the messages if they are published from official sources, not just people that have come together from Facebook and putting stuff in there, because I know how easy it is to generate messages. Those Snapchats, someone sent me some Snapchat messages. I can't remember what the context of them was, and I looked at them and I thought, what the hell is this? That's really bad. Like, they were just screenshots and they just looked terrible, and they could be easily reproduced and made easily. So if it's coming from like people that are in the group sending it to content creators and stuff, I'm very reluctant to pay attention to those. I tend to just stick with what is factual, what we are given in that moment, and that's just kind of how I am, because it could be that they've been written or whatever. It's easily done. Look how they did it to Rachel when they made out that she was saying all these things. They looked very genuine messages, but when you got down to the crux of it, and I asked to see full proof of these, because I didn't believe them, and the person did a video, but it was the strangest video ever, and it didn't prove to me that that was from the genuine account of Rachel Hargreaves. So I'm very reluctant if I cannot prove that that is the actual person. So I would expect those pictures to come from either the police releasing them or the investigator releasing them, where they haven't been made to look like it to get people into trouble. Because that's the problem. That is the problem. And people do want to get people into trouble. So currently, I'm going with exactly what Mark said, and that's it. With a little spin on that from myself, which is just a thought, is that did he sell it to them and then steal the watch back and then make a run for it with the money and the watch? That's as probably as out of the facts as I can go on that. Like, because that's just how I am. You can't believe what people send you. Editing is easy if you know how. So easy. Well, that's what I'm thinking. They would catch up with him. He was out of his face. You could see that. But they said in the first interview that he with it. That's the word he used. He was with it. So to me, someone is with it if they're walking straight, they're compos mentis, even if they've been drinking. I'm going to spit you out, 33. Oh, he's already been blocked. Why is he still here? Oh, he's not. Oh my God. There is a lot of posts. There is a lot of chat going on. It's hard to keep up because as soon as I scroll down the chat moves, like it jumps like massively. Some messages don't show, but obviously when people are being blocked, that jumps the chat as well. So a lot of comments I am not seeing because it's going so fast. I think it's taken. I could agree with you there. If you can email it. Oh. Yes, email it. I think I can get it. Hang on. I'll need to bring myself back up again so that I can then email. I can go and check the email. So it's afterdarkcoffeeandcrime@mail.com. Oh, and there was some reports of down the Rapids being invested or had been down for questioning down at the police station for tampering evidence. I've seen this guy. He's apparently hired a private investigator and he got him half price because the private investigator can see what this guy can see. And I'm like, right. So if he can see what you can see and you want to make this right, you'd just do it, right? You wouldn't charge you half price. So anyway, he's been saying that Rapids has been tampering with the evidence. And first of all, where is your proof? Number two, Rapids wasn't there in the immediate time that Jay went missing. And at this point, the Airbnb, the men had gone and there has been no evidence whatsoever. None. So what evidence has he been tampering with? So if you're going to make a claim like that, please do back that up because that's a big claim to make that he's tampering with evidence and that he's being investigated. What I do know, though, is that because he hasn't been posting on social media, people have called the police and had them search for him because they are concerned for him. And he said because he's lost his phone and the keys, Pedro, I think, who is the one that owns the place that he's staying in, also called the police because he couldn't get hold of him because obviously his numbers and everything, apparently they hadn't transferred over. So I don't know how that works, but that's what the police were involved in, doing a welfare check on Rapids, not the other. I know. He only went out there to help, and now he's just being the butt. But there's people stirring crap about him as well. And a lot of the people that are stirring crap about him are stirring up information and talking about stuff that's just not even backed with proof. It's just stuff that they're saying. So then they start saying stuff like that, and then they start saying he's in it for his own, and then they start slating him and that he's, earning this and he's earning that for doing what he's doing, which is what his platform was designed and set up for him doing his, I don't know, mountaineering or whatever it is he would do normally. But yet the people that are saying that about him are sat at home and gaining followers, earning from the gifts being sent to them. So don't sit there and slate someone when you're doing exactly the same, except for you're not doing exactly the same. You're sat at home. He's actually out there doing something. But to then go down the road that he's been messing with, tampering with the evidence, that's a step too far, isn't it? Step too far. I don't think he's in Morocco. I don't think anything in the Maroob boat. I have seen that guy's picture, and I need to be careful how I say this. I wouldn't be shocked if he wasn't into the underground of the, well, you know, the pool of dealings and stuff that goes on. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't be shocked by that. Now, shouldn't be judgmental, but I kind of get that feeling from him. But he could be totally nothing like that, and that could have just been the worst picture that they picked up of him. The question is who is the other one? Now, there is another one been named, and there's someone been doing checks on them and coming up with, I think it's for the other one, that they might have been and had time for something, assault or something. But again, you can't prove that's actually them. Now, normally, if you're following something in the US, you can put in the court, you can put in the document and the person's name or the case number, and it will bring everything up, and you know you're dealing with the facts. But when people just go off random searching on Google and they pull these things up, unless someone's given that in an official capacity, you can't say that. And I think it was Wicked said to me, "Oh, they've shown the picture." I said, "Well, I only want to see the picture if it is like been released through an official channel, like, you know, or platform or news agency, because the thing is, if you put the person's photo up and that isn't them, you send people to go and harass the wrong people. So you have to be so careful about what you're putting out there." Papers 9 years. Thank you for tofu. Right, okay, Daily Mail. What am I looking for with the Daily Mail, guys? Hang on, I just need to come out here. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you all for the gifts. They're amazing. Thank you to all my subscribers. I need to drop you your subscriber only video too. Must do that tomorrow. Daily Mail. Update. No, I don't want an update on Israel, thanks. Update on Jay. So someone in the Facebook group had posted that and said, "Is this him?" So obviously the Daily Mail are watching it, and they've probably gone and investigated, and they've probably got more powers to actually get official information, haven't they? Revealed. British man, 31, who Jay visited in the Airbnb before vanishing, is a convicted rug dealer. Put a D in front of that. And he insists the missing teen came to the house alive and left the house alive. Outside, both Airbnb guys outside Sugar Reef and Veronica's. Haley Atkinson. His mugshot looks very different to his face now, doesn't it? Hang on, I can show it to you, but I'm going to have to take this background off a second. For those of you that can't see it, if I can't, you won't see it if I leave this on. Let me just make a smaller let me just, because then I can show you the picture. Just want one that I know will fit in the screen. Okay. Thank you, Phil. I know. Let me just move that around. Check the battery. So the Briton at the centre of the Slater mystery broke his silence today. So he broke his silence. I think it was broken for him. I'm pretty sure he was outed. And told the Daily Mail online, he came to my Airbnb alive and he left my Airbnb alive. Ayub Kasim invited Slater back to his rented holiday cottage after a rave in the hours before he vanished on the 17th. Kasim was jailed 9 years ago for being the mastermind. So he wasn't just a dealer, he was the mastermind behind the sophisticated operation to flood Wales at Boops area with Class A's. Thank you, Nettie. He booked a £40 a night holiday rental online under the name Ayub Abdul. Wait. The fact that he went on a different name is a bit weird to me, by the way. Johnny Vegas. As in, like, that was his nickname. That was weird. That sounded a bit dodgy. But, and I don't often give my opinion, but he did. Now, Ayub Kasim took him back alive and let him go, or he went alive. He let him go. He left alive, but he said that he was under Ayub Abdul. Why would you have a different name? Spanish police hunting for Jay have already spoken to Kasim and the unnamed friend. So who is the unnamed friend? Because now I need to see what he looks like. He was traveling with. Oh no, so the unnamed friend he was traveling with, was known as Johnny Vegas. Okay, that's still dodgy. That's a better mugshot, isn't it? Thank you, Janice. He looks really young there. Yep, there's 4 pugs in my house. Hence the reason members get a pugs badge next to their, not members, subscribers get a pug badge next to their name. Now, personally, I wouldn't have gone anywhere with him, even at looking like that at that age. Because the thing I had in my mind was like, when I'm thinking of possibilities and scenarios, because you kind of got to think possibilities and scenarios, okay? And I kind of thought, well, perhaps maybe there was some rugs, and these rugs were a bit potent. And thank you for subscribing, Rachel. Maybe they were a bit much and something happened to Jay, and maybe they then panicked. That was one of my possibilities. Then the other one was kind of, did he leave? Because he was on a track. Now, if you've seen the track, you've seen the track. I struggle. I'm struggling with just trying to put him in a situation really where, because he's not in the location, they've searched that area and he is not there lost. Now, I'm pretty sure that they have asked landowners to look in their outhouses and stuff. Whether they did or not, I don't know. Whether they know to, and they haven't been asked, is another matter, but they have appealed for that anyway. But apparently there is quite a few pictures of Jay anyway. But he's not in that area. So that makes me think, well, did he get further on after the ping on his phone and something else has happened by accident? Like there's been an accident and it's been covered up or something, right? Because I'm just trying to think of logical, sensible explanations that could have happened. But I can see why Jay's mum thought he was in trouble, because obviously she'd have got to have heard that story and thought, oh my God, he's in trouble. Well, he didn't have a passport. The men stayed on the island for an extra day after Jay went missing to speak to the police, although both have been described as irrelevant. So why did the police go back? That is my question. Because it's now odd, isn't it, that the police went back and was in there. Like, the property's been... Thank you, Just Alison. Welcome to the pugs. Oh, we did close to 40 of you. That's exciting. So, I don't know what kind of a search they did when he went missing. Oh, we're on a subwave now. I don't know what he did when he went missing, or what they did when he went missing. But it's too late, because it's 2 weeks. Now, it's been said that the place had been cleaned, and some other things have gone on in there since then. Now, it's now not for rent at the moment. It's been taken off. That was of yesterday, so that could be changed today. That could be back on booking.com. But 2 weeks after, and people have been in there, what did they actually do when they were in there? I mean, they could be looking for leftover substances or residue or whatever, but if it's been fully cleaned in there and whatnot, then this is too late. Like, what are they going to get? Because there's literally been nothing of Jay left behind. Hey, Dempsey. Like, nothing. Like, the dogs have got nothing. Like, and it is as though he's just vanished. It's like he's just gone. There's no item of his clothing been left behind. So even if, say, he'd been unalived for several days, whatever, it's like you would think clothing, there would be something, but there's nothing. So where did he go? Has he got further than that point where he got lost in the phone pinged and fallen somewhere else where they haven't looked? That's another possibility. I don't believe he was on the Maroob. If he was on the Maroob, he's been thrown off because the Maroob has been given the heads up. I know. It is sad how many people... right, let me just... So, okay, so this clears something up. I let the geezer stay at mine because he had nowhere else to go. His friends had left him. So he's saying they left him. The friends are saying... So Lucy said she went back because she was tired. Why would they... If they had the hire... This does not make sense. If they had the hire car and Jay had somewhere to be because he's got accommodation... Why not just take him back to the accommodation? Why drive him all that way? I mean, Jesus, he only had to sit up for another couple of hours or continue at the rave till whatever time and then go and get some breakfast and then ring Lucy and say, hey, get up, I need to get in or whatever if he couldn't get in the room. But I'm pretty sure if he went to the hotel or B&B where he was staying, there's some sort of reception or at some point someone could get him in that building rather than taking him all the way out there for him to have to make his way back. So that does not make sense to me. But he says, I know Jay through friends and I'm not going to bring someone back to mine if I don't know them. I'm doing the geezer a favour and now my face is all over the news. It's a bit mental and I haven't done anything. So he lives in his family's flat in Barking in East London. He was the ringleader of a London-based crime gang who imported heroin and the white powder stuff into Cardiff, where police raided a property there and they found rugs, cash mobile phones and digital scales, and he had been sentenced to 9 years and 9 months, and he insisted he had no argument with Jay and had even given him a blanket to sleep in. Who is that? That must be his partner. Oh, that's a better shot of him, isn't it? Thank you. One rug dealer to another. Oh, the famous blanket. Yeah, the bloody blanket that couldn't be in the B&B because it wasn't in the recent pictures. Thank you, Maria, for the roses. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you to the subscribers as well. Which, if he'd spoken just like that to the Spanish police, he'd have gotten away with it, wouldn't he? Because he's clearly convincing. So Yep, I love being a TikTok, Karen, and you're very welcome in my life. Very, very welcome. Well, I can't confirm this officially, but somebody somewhere has said that the glasses were said not to be his, but I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure on the source on that. I'm going to change my name to Karen, okay? I have a friend called Karen. That's mean. No, he's not going to go, well, yeah, I mean, you know, we did a deal. It all went wrong. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Interesting, though, the family, the mum and the dad, was in the police station yesterday and they didn't know that the police had gone back to the property. But who has released his information? Because I wonder if it was the investigator, if he didn't come forward. Mark did it, did he? Because he didn't come forward. Well, I know he said he was going to do it. Thank you, Macy. And now he's had to speak. So that makes sense because he did say that he was going to. But because he'd been quiet, I didn't know if he'd spoken to them. Let's not vote reform. Let's block the vote reform. We don't do the politics in here. Okay. Right, hang on. I was going to bring myself back up because someone was emailing me something. Mark is the investigator.